The UN.
All righty.
Oh, wow. That was loud.
We made it.
We made it.
Cheers.
Yeah. Don't mind me, as I've said.
Cheerios.
Cheers.
Cheerios. Thanks, Pauline.
Cheerios.
For joining us.
So yeah, Pauline is pretty late over there. We kind of, here we are complaining that we had to drive in traffic.
I know.
Pauline's like, yo, it's 1 a.m. right now. So
Yep.
what is your typical Friday like? Do you hang out? Do you chill out on Fridays, or you're crypto 24/7?
Well, it depends on the situation on the market and whether I am needed at work late at night. Usually I finish work at 8:30 p.m. and then we either I go home and play video games, or I go hang out with friends who are also my colleagues, because I don't really have any other friends. So yeah.
That's the way. Well, because you're working in an industry that you love, I guess, right?
Well, yep. I love the industry, and I love my colleagues. We have a very wonderful team, and a lot of us are the same age as me, so it's we have a lot to talk about and a lot to drink booze about. So
nice.
It is what it is.
We don't have. Well, we have a few real world crypto friends.
Yeah, we do.
Obviously, Vic.
Yeah, Vic, who's in New York. Yeah.
We love hanging out with Vic. That's awesome.
We
got a few other Monero people.
Got a Telegram group.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's Satoshi.
Those people randomly reach out to us.
Who else? I guess.
He's been hitting me up recently. We're gonna meet up with them.
Yeah. And then people from the
Brian and
Brian and also the Monero meetups. We've met a few people there.
Yeah, it's funny because I
Sean,
the no coiners. You know, they just can't handle the passion that that people have for crypto. That are so it just becomes annoying. You know.
Of course.
So I try not to talk about it when I'm among people that aren't into crypto, because they're just I think they're turned off by it. You know.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, and this Friday has been kind of this entire week actually has been really interesting, because a lot has happened. We've seen the collapse, the red candle, which apparently it's been so bad that this is one of the worst sinkages in the history of the crypto market. So
yeah, it's a major retracement, but I mean, I guess it makes sense given how crazy the bull market has been, right? So, I mean, it's comparable in terms of its intensity and velocity upwards. It kind of makes sense that it sprung back, came back with such ferocity.
Of course, and it's kind of nice, to be living through. This is a pretty major historic event, at least within the industry, and it's kind of fun to see, how history is happening around you while you were just sitting at work looking at your laptop or something. So yeah, it's kind of exhausting, but really
we appreciate you coming on, given how tired you must be. But yeah, we wanted to, because you put a post up, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Basically talking about the liquidity issues in Monero.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we'd just love to have you, I guess, just talk about that a little bit. I think the community is all, it's been a big question in everybody's mind, why it happened and what's the potential cause for it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just because of the way the market works, or is there something else happening behind the scenes? Not necessarily sinister, but maybe something that is causing this issue.
Well, it all started, I think, on Thursday night. I was hanging out with Zena from Now Payments. We were just having a few beers and chatting and stuff like that. And it was 3 a.m. my time, 3:30. I came home and I was trying to fall asleep, and one of the community managers is calling me, all panicked, and he's like, "Pauline, there's something wrong with XMR exchanges. I've been having a lot of angry customers come at me because a lot of their exchanges were stuck. And I come on, like, I was fairly tipsy and really, really tired, but like I come in and I see that apparently we were having issues with liquidity providers. Like, we've had a few incidents in the past which involved, like, our systems collapsing because of the huge influx of users. But right now, the problem actually came from liquidity. So we mostly trade XMR on Binance. They're one of our, like, I think we put most of our volume through Binance, because, like, they've been our trusted partner for a very long time, like almost ever since ChangeNOW was created, and they've been super helpful at trying, like, to help us resolve the issue. But, like, the main problem about XMR was that we sort of, like, when you have institutional accounts for trading, like when you use an exchange for liquidity, not just like for retail trading, you have to have a certain type of account, um, and those certain type of accounts, they have certain privileges, and one of those is like being able to run really, really big volumes of crypto through. And at that point, when, like, the market sunk, there have been, like, a lot of people coming in and exchanging, and at some point, we just, like, we ran out of trading volume. So Binance just cut our withdrawals, and couple that with the ongoing thing with Monero that they've been having this past week, like intermittently disabling withdrawals left and right. We were just not able to pay. Like, we took our customers' money, we brought them on an exchange, we traded them, but we couldn't withdraw them. So the exchange had already been made, and the rate had already been, like, sort of fixed. We couldn't actually withdraw any funds to send to our customers. And we obviously do have internal reserves that, like, only select people in the company have access to. And usually when something like this happens, we start trading out, like, we start paying people out of our own, like, out of our own liquidity. But the volumes, like the amount of people that was actually coming in was so crazy that we sort of just ran out. I think we had 10,000 XMR in our reserves or something like that.
Wow.
And at some point, like, when our community manager woke me up, I think we had 0.3 left or something like that. And the only option for us was either, like, obtaining the liquidity from somewhere else, like, maybe going on an OTC desk or something like that, and just buying enough so that we would be able to, like, pay out the amounts that were still left hanging, like I think about 3,000 Monero or something like that. But like back then we were just sort of, like, overwhelmed with volume, that, like, other things kept coming in as well. So we only got to that in the morning, our time, I think, like 12 p.m. or something like that. And Vic, bless his soul. Thank you, Vic. Vic, like, sort of just slid in my DMs, and he was like, "Do you need liquidity?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let me talk to the team." And I forwarded his message to one of our tech execs, the one who sort of, like, deals with wallets, like, with the way that we work with certain assets, like nodes and stuff. And we, like, he started negotiating with Vic about obtaining the liquidity. But after, like, running some research, we found out that the easiest option would be to like, go onto Poloniex, I think, like one of our founders was sort of like buying XMR on a market, like in small orders. He was sitting in his car, like on the side of the road, because they just sort of like called him and we were like, "Hey, we need help, stat. So could you help?" And he's a real good trader, and a very early Monero adopter. I think he's told me that he has one of his wallets where ones of the earliest Monero blocks were mined. So yeah, he's like a huge Monero fan, huge Monero geek. So he was just there sitting in his car with his laptop, just like buying Monero and Poloniex in like really really small chunks. And our financial operations team, they're like also like manual traders. They're I think their team lead, yeah, their team lead Anastasia was like sitting at the same time sitting in the office, and we had like the non-withdrawable amount of XMR that was sitting on Binance. We had to sort of like, in order to even out what our founder was buying on Poloniex, we had to sort of like even out the balances on our like accounts and reserves and whatnot. So she kept selling XMR and Binance like in very small chunks into BTC, and they came like so close to get even, but our founder just like made one tiny mistake and he came $300 short. But that was like fairly precise, especially considering the market that was like being really volatile, and the fact that he was like sort of like doing arbitrage. Yeah, and he bought the XMR that was necessary to finish the exchanges that were, we call them stuckies, like the ones that were stuck. And yeah, he bought the Monero, he sent it to our node, and we just like started paying people out. I think we were
This is
done.
a fascinating story, by the way.
Yeah.
I know the Monero community is loving this. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, and I wrote the tiny first statement that I posted like last night when this entire situation started, and then we sort of wrote like a different, like a longer explanation statement, where we said like this all, like, here's how it happened basically. And we've had so much positive feedback from you guys, like it was unbelievable. I think
I just appreciate how transparent you guys have been, so that's
well, I mean,
what you're continuing to do right now, so I think that's why everybody's enthusiastic about it.
Well, we do our best to sort of like talk about, it's not really honest to talk about only the good stuff that happens, because that's just like you can't really be super super good 100% of the time, right? So we believe that it's important to talk about like the fuck ups and the other stuff that we didn't really do well, so that people know that we see what's happening and that we're ready to embrace it and change and get better and better and better every time. Right now, I just checked before going on the call, and I think that everything went back to normal. Monero is working smoothly in both sides, so everything is going fine. So yeah. So this is the whole story of the bloodbath, which is apparently going to be known as the Moneropocalypse internally, just like we did with the Doge apocalypse back in the end of January.
We kind of saw. I mean, with the China news, everything's crashed since. But we kind of saw Monero kind of taking off earlier today. Do you think that has anything to do with the fact that it was reaching a proper equilibrium based on the demand, or?
I think like we've seen like people have been talking about the Monero liquidity crisis, which means that there's like a shortage of Monero on places where you can buy it, like actually buy it, right? And when there is a shortage existing, obviously, like when the supply shrinks, the demand is going to grow. So that was probably what caused Monero to shoot up. I think like last time I looked at the markets, it was plus 30%. But that was, I think, a few hours ago. Let me see. Now I'm curious. Just a second. Sorry for not being super coherent.
No, no worries.
I'm just.
Sean is going to join us on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to, let us know. We just we can't leave it as open as usual because we had a hacker last time.
I know.
So
That was a mess.
we're trying to not be taken down.
Yeah, apparently it shut up, but then it sort of like corrected a little bit, which I guess makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I think Monero is like doing right. Yeah, it's up. It's up in volume 35%.
Yeah. Well, then the China news brought down the whole market. So, but it seemed like Monero was having a little bit of a run against all the other coins before the China news came out. So, what is there anything else you could tell us then about Binance? So what did they say the reason was? Just so I make sure I understand it. They literally just ran out of Monero themselves.
Unfortunately, I don't really have any info on that. Like, I wish I could tell you something about this, but they are being as transparent as possible. But then again, like, I guess this is just not the information that they're ready to disclose.
Got it. Yeah, if anybody who's watching has info or ideas about that, text us, DM us, and jump on stage,
on Twitter
or message us here in the YouTube chat, and then we'll get you the password. All right. Well, we made it through, right?
We survived.
Oh yeah, we did. We very much did.
We weren't affected.
Yeah,
at
we
all.
weren't affected. It looks like you were. You need to rest now. Been a busy week.
But yeah,
I'm going to sleep
I know, we appreciate
a lot
your
after
time.
this.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I was just saying that I am going to probably sleep through the entire weekend because
You deserve it.
yeah, like these cases are like really, really interesting. They're like super dynamic and they like give you the adrenaline rush that you get to appreciate a lot, especially when you work in the industry like this. But then again, like these cases are like they get super, super exhausting because like you basically stop sleeping for long times at once because like you have to be following the news, you have to be looking at the market, you have to be like running the marketing department, like making sure everyone has the reply, like every customer of ours has been helped and stuff like that. And when you're just like, when it all ends, you feel like a squeezed out lemon, honestly. That's why I'm drinking Powerade right now because I'm.
But it's a good tired though. It's a good tired because you're doing something productive. It was a good adventure. Sean, what's going on?
Hey, Sean.
I muted you, Sean.
Doug Sunita. Okay.
How's it going?
Hi, I'm doing okay. Crazy week. How have you guys been doing?
Good.
We survived.
We're unfazed.
All right, hooray! Congratulations.
Watching everybody else. And,
right. Yes.
Now we're bringing Paulina's stress to the Monero community. Let them realize.
Share alike. Might as well.
Yeah.
So, Sean, do you have any comments on what happened? Do you have any insights into it?
Unfortunately, most of my expertise is on decentralized exchanges. So any of the centralized exchanges, much of what I would be familiar with doesn't apply in this case. But I can offer some insights into what was going on in some of the secondary markets. Like there was a significant ratio of short sells, what we call naked short sells, where they didn't necessarily have any backing or any other coins. That usually indicates that people are expecting the price to drop down. Many people at the time were analyzing this in real time. In major areas like, say, a stock market or like, say, some sort of gaming system in place or earlier this year, a lot of people were able to analyze that and look for something called a short leveraged short buyout. So it's possible to create a short squeeze in response. And what was happening was, I think, just temporary because of the massive amount of changes. XMRs, I think there's, well, I don't want to use the term a synthetic derivative, but it's very similar to a synthetic derivative of Bitcoin, which is the main driver of prices. So whenever any coin like Bitcoin takes a huge drop, because that's always the first one because it gets the most attention, pretty much everything else is a slow delayed response before this big huge sell-off and people panic sell or prices are adjusted. So a coin like XMR, even though, if you look at the ratio for XMR to BTC, it's been going in a very particular, it's been rising up recently. So you figure that this would be a little bit different than that, but most of the other coins are exactly pegged 1-to-1 in some ratio. They get hit pretty quick with the delayed response as people try to get their most valuable assets. They sell Bitcoin first in a panic, and then they sell everything else in a big line. So you wouldn't figure it would be this way, but it seemed like for some reason there was a very short crunch where everybody was trying to sell. And some people did notice that it was about to occur. So some people kind of realized, oh, there's going to be a quick short sell. So let's put these naked shorts out just to make a few bucks. Now, a lot of people assume that there was going to be like a short squeeze that was happening with GameStop earlier this year. So there's a lot of speculation. Hey, should we try to, squeeze the short, see if we can worry about that? But it was just a temporary thing. And those naked shorts have pretty much either expired or just simply the ratio was down a lot. So while it looked like something major was going on behind the scenes, and I'm sure a lot of people like conspiracy theories, this is just a natural reaction into the markets. Anything that had, let's say, AMMs in other decentralized exchange style systems, they were usually well provided, so they didn't have the same liquidity crisis, which is why I think like a lot of the people were focusing on this just recently over the last 24 hours is the thought was, if you're having trouble with any of your centralized exchanges, go right into decentralized exchanges. So I think most of what we're seeing now over the time where we've had an enormous amount of transactions just keep going and going and going, that was mostly provided by the AMMs and the other decentralized exchanges that were trying to kind of fulfill those naked short sells and the other things that were going on behind the scenes. So I wouldn't necessarily call this like really like anything major. This is something you'd see in a regular stock market. This is just kind of like, it's Tuesday. It's just an average day, something particularly special. But because a lot of people are very well attuned to the price of their assets in the cryptocurrency market, you can see a lot of reaction and a lot of speculation. So I don't know. It's going to take a little bit before we can really piece together exactly what did happen because there's just so much information. Nobody's writing a narrative on exactly what happened here. So
right.
Maybe next week.
What we're trying to figure out live on this show right now today. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of it. Vic, what's going on?
Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah, I just hey Pauline, to Sean as well. But yeah, we're gonna run off to dinner soon, but I just wanted to come on and say hello, and I wanted to give my props to ChangeNOW. I'll tell you, because we deal with them all the time, and I think basically harassing Pauline at this point. So I can tell you that ChangeNOW staff, I didn't either, and I think nobody slept for the last 48 hours. It was nuts. We were dealing with our users. Hey, it's not working. ChangeNOW's down. Yeah, I just wanted to first of all apologize to Pauline for messaging her every 5 minutes for the last 48 hours saying, are we good? Are we good? Are we good?
She's the reason.
I know.
You are the reason why she's exhausted.
Yeah, it's my fault. Yeah, no, but I think they were on this, and they definitely looked at every solution possible. Even with Cake Wallet, we discussed various solutions. So yeah, I think hats off to them. I think what Binance did, not just to ChangeNOW and not to Cake, but I think every Monero holder is just unforgivable. Just to lock up the funds like that. How did they get away with it? I don't know.
Vic, you have any insight into what was happening there at Binance?
No idea. I wish I knew.
Well,
I just realized I've been muted the entire time. I've been trying to sort of like apologize to Vic for essentially ghosting him at some point because I was knocked out. I fell asleep, honestly. And again, Vic,
This guy again.
thank you so much for offering us like help in these trying times, and just like we really appreciate you. And I think I remember that I did like earlier on in the conversation, I did give you a shout out because you were, I think like you were the first one who sort of like came forward to try and help. And this is like, this is just like, this goes a long way. Thank you so much.
No, it's good. It's everything's fine now, right? Everything's good.
Everything's good. I just checked like all systems are operating normally, so yeah, everything should be fine. Knock on wood, obviously.
This is amazing that everybody's on here live just talking about it. I mean, truly open source. Very cool. Very cool to see. I know people have to be loving this show right now. This is great.
People are excited in the chat.
But they want answers why Binance did that, and I think nobody
that's
really
the next village.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we'll probably all never know, but
I think the market went up so fast, and maybe everyone was so over leveraged, and that was probably killing Binance. There's only so much leverage you can offer, and if you're going and trying to make a trade on margin, or if you were trying to take a crypto loan, I mean, they were fresh out of any stable coin or currency. If you try to do a margin loan on Bitcoin to Euro or Bitcoin to British pounds or USDC or anything, you just couldn't do it. So in a weird way, I feel like this crash was orchestrated to kind of fix that situation, kind of liquidate people so they get out of the mess. And again, I'm not saying it's liquidated by Binance. Binance, if you're listening, we love you. But somebody, somewhere. Again, I'm just putting on, a tinfoil hat here and throwing out conspiracy theories. Who knows? Just loud.
It would have been nice to see that short squeeze that Sean was talking about.
Yeah.
That would have maybe amped up the GameStop community on Reddit. Sean, how close was that to being a reality?
Oh, it was just a very brief period of time. It's just a very brief period of time where that was, very a big issue. If I'm recalling, this is about 24 hours ago now, maybe like yesterday, early afternoon, or my time, like 28 hours or something like that. But for a very, very brief period of time, you would see the entire chart. The ratio was something like, I'm just making this number up, but it was something like 0.03% of the shorts were covered. So it's like, what is that? 1 in 3,000 of the short positions were actually covered any of those, which just lets you know something major was happening. So it was just a very brief spike where there was probably completely somebody who wasn't really doing crypto or something like that, but they just create up these synthetic shorts just because they saw a gap in the timing where, let's say, if you give in a particular ratio of whatever BTC XMR is, they saw that XMR was actually okay. And they saw BTC going down that lower level, even though synthetic, in theory, it's supposed to be going up. So opportunities like this here, they still did it, and they called that, which caused this cascade problem, everything else backing up because of reasons that I don't know and I don't want to speculate on. But if there's anything in that bottleneck, anything that stopped that, like any one thing could have caused this cascade failure where everything else backed up as well too. It was just too much of an opportunity for people looking at the numbers and the analysis. This usually isn't supposed to happen when a number is going up. If the numbers were going downwards, let's say BTC was getting more valuable compared to XMR, that's what you would expect. You expect everybody to run on that because you expect everybody to sell off the dying coin faster, but the XMR is going up. So this one, something seemed wrong about that. So I think I'm just guessing some of the explanations about Monero being different is that whatever was going on in the background, whoever on the exchanges were trying to really get this working correctly, and suddenly all the games that they were playing with the other coins to cover those, it just didn't work because XMR is slightly different. But again, I'm just speculating.
Oh, you're saying because it's technologically different? So the way what do you mean?
I mean, if you're dealing with it, yeah, it's because of the RPC and all the different calls on the API level are slightly different with Monero than any of the other ones. So if they're dealing with, I don't know, an ERC20 token, they have so many of these events occur where they're trying to cover their, the exports and everything. that in this case, maybe some small thing occurred and it just caused so much of a traffic jam on their side. I'm trying to come up with a good explanation that isn't not pieces or something.
The theory with Monero's inputs and that 20-minute wait time. Was that potentially the issue? That we saw that Binary Fate looks like he reached out
yes.
or like put it out there that he'd be willing to help with technical issues.
Well, yes, that is a viable case. The wallets are specifically designed to prevent that being an issue. However, let's imagine that somebody was doing, there's a particular way you can scrub multiple types. Let's say I have a whole bunch of small XMR, UTXO small transactions, you get 0.5 XMR and 0.01 XMR. They accumulate up over time. So it's possible for you to mix all of your outputs into one big input. So you can have this one big UTXO that has like all of your value. And I'm sure the exchanges could have just one transaction that has like, I don't know, 100 XMR or something in it. And so the problem with that is if you have one massive one instead of a bunch of small ones, whenever you're trying to send your payments out to somebody, you got to wait 20 minutes before the wallet will let you send from that one gigantic output. It's a problem, but we kind of like, for people who are doing a bunch of payments, we try to tell them to do multiple outputs at the same time. A lot of individual users don't do multiple outputs in the same transaction because it looks a little bit different and it's just they're not used to it. But any of the big exchanges should have a system in place where we can easily account for that. No, number one, don't have this massive one XMR output. And number two, when you're just sending the transactions, make sure you send them all in a combined transaction. So if they had that policy in place, there really isn't that much of a case for that. I mean, it could have slowed it down by minutes. That's it.
When you say combined transactions, you mean like a batch transaction?
Oh, darn, I don't remember the API name, but you can have multiple outputs. The normal transaction is 2 inputs, 2 outputs for any Monero transaction, in that you have 2 sources, then you send a transaction to somebody else, and then you send a change back to yourself that you can use later on. But in the case of, usually it's the pools, then you're doing the mining pool will have a very large number of people that's going to send small pieces of the transaction out to. So they'll have just one input. Let's say they have a Coinbase, they have one input and they have like 100 different outputs. So in that way, you can send that just in one transaction, clear everything out. So yeah, I guess you call it a batch. I thought it was a different name, but yeah, let's call it that. Yeah. Let's call it a batch.
Yeah, I've seen that in the CLI, in the command line, and we've actually used it. And if we can do it in CLI, that's something we've kicked around. We should be able to do that in Cake Wallet as well. Do batch transactions, and then that would really cut down the time of waiting. And people talk about making automatic change to yourself. Like Cake breaking down outputs in the back, but we don't want to be sending other people's money without their permission. So we kind of avoided that. But yeah, batch transactions. I think who knows? Who knows what Binance was doing? Did they give you a reason, Pauline? No. Not even a hint.
No.
Yeah, Binance.
Unfortunately, not.
Listening.
One of the reasons why sort of like this entire thing happened is partially like sort of our fault because we didn't account for the crazy volumes that were coming through. Because like I think we have right now we have sort of like 1,000 BTC daily in trading volume in Binance. Yeah, and last time, like when it all happened, we essentially sort of just ran out and withdrawals were cut, and that sort of just like came together with the with the thing where Binance disabled XMR withdrawal as well. So it just like sort of snowballed, and like what happened. Right now we're looking to expand our liquidity provider pool. Right now we're onboarding with DB Chain ourselves. Shout out to Justin, who has been like really instrumental in sort of like bringing this entire thing together. And we would have like with DB Chain, we're still like sort of like in the onboarding process. They are, to my knowledge, like they are one of the biggest Monero hodlers in the world. So that would have sort of like saved us, I guess. But the onboarding process hadn't been complete yet. So I'm pretty sure next time like something like this happens, we will have our bases covered like 100%. So yeah, Binance
Right.
has been pretty helpful though, so huge shout out to them.
Yeah, so like I was gonna say, if Binance, if you're listening, right? Because I think that was one of the things that the community has been saying, that it seems like, you know, these companies are running into these issues that could very well be avoidable, but they're not working with the Monero community to solve them. So Binance, if you're listening, reach out. Right? I'm sure the Monero community would be happy to help solve these issues. I don't know why there's not more communication there. Sean, you have any comments on that?
Well, I usually what'll happen if you experience any organizational crisis response concepts, unfortunately, the overwhelming majority of the case is unless there's somebody already on retainer, you're not going to find any response manager who wants to go and make creative solutions at the time. At any given point in time when something bad is happening, you're just really focused on trying to get the information about what's occurring. You're not really focusing on creating a new plan and new innovative ways to respond to something. And even then, let's conceptualize this. If there really was just simply a technical error, and the people who were responding to this, what would their solution to go out? Let's talk to a bunch of C programmers who could then create a long-term process in place that might be merged at some point months from now. No, the goal was to simply figure out what they had available on hand at the time. So it may seem very provincial to us from the outside, but unless you have the experience necessary, unless you've gone through this and actually responded to it, you're not gonna have any process in place. It's simply too difficult for them to make decisions under those constraints.
Yeah, I guess what I meant is they should have been reaching out kind of beforehand to you know, have the technology that's up to snuff. I mean, it seems like Kraken, right, has never had this issue. They seem to be more adept in terms of working with Monero as opposed to Binance.
I can't say the one nice thing about this is that organizations do usually learn pretty well after they have a disaster. So you can't predict the future, but I'm betting that any organization that had this liquidity problem, they're probably going to invest a good amount of time and energy to prevent this from happening again.
Very true. What do you guys think about the China news that came out today with banning Bitcoin once again, or whatever it is they did?
Mining.
I mean, is it significant, or is it going to be like from years past where it's just kind of they say something, it sounds very extreme, and then they kind of step back?
Here's what I have to say about that, and that is, I need to go to dinner. So it's fun being on this.
Thank you for coming on. Thanks for sponsoring the show.
Enjoy your dinner, man.
We love you.
Take care.
Thank you for the support. You're the best. Take care. Enjoy.
I love him. Love that guy.
I know, he's the best.
Vic is just the absolute best. And about this, like about the about the situation with China, I personally think that, like, you know, sort of these moves by governments that we've seen lately, like with India, where they sort of like reverted on their original decision to ban crypto, and with China, like, I think they create sort of like more resonance than is, you know, like is logical. I don't know if I'm making like total sense right now, but maybe, you know, like we know that China is like super duper involved in crypto. Most of the mining, like Bitcoin mining facilities are located in China, and I think that, you know, the Chinese government sort of probably is holding at least some amount of Bitcoin, and maybe they wanted to buy more. That's why they sort of like, you know, drop the news, markets crash, and then like sort of like, you know, buying out the dip. And then they go like, oh, actually, well, sort of like we weren't that serious, you know. And then they sort of just like revert on their original decision a little bit. And
it's crazy, is it? I feel like Elon Musk had a larger effect than China's capable of having right now.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty insane.
Yeah, Elon Musk is like
Powerful.
Elon Musk is an entirely an entirely different beast who has been the bane of my existence for a while. Because he just goes out and says something, and then we have like tens of thousands of rabid Dogecoin fans just coming in and just breaking our systems.
I think it was, with the mining news, it was a good reminder that, Bitcoin's mining is arguably more susceptible to banning than something like Monero, which utilizes RandomX, where, people are mining with CPUs. So it's not just, finding the warehouse filled with ASICs. It would be practically difficult to stop Monero mining versus Bitcoin mining. What do you guys think?
Actually, like our founder just texted me on Telegram, and he was like, well, as I already mentioned, he used to be a miner, like in a very early Monero miner. So he was like, if you need to flex in front of the Monero community, he sent me the number of his first mined Monero block from April 2014. Number is 2093. So that's just a neat factoid to spice up the evening.
Shel,
Okay, I will shut up now.
What do you think about that? Do you think that was indicative of that? The fact that Monero can't as easily be banned in terms of mining?
Right. Well, and there's a number of effects of that. Oh, can you hear me?
Now we can, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, hooray. I love patterns, but I'm not one to speculate. So the last time I've noticed, I think this is maybe the third or fourth time I've heard that China's now going to outlaw all mining. So I did notice the last time that was associated around the same time as a major climate change concept that was going on that China was involved in. I don't recall exactly what it was, but I did just notice recently there's some news that the G7 is also currently meeting, and one of their top items is to discuss climate change, which is a very interesting coincidence with the announcement that, all the discussion about power usage and things like that, which is ironic, but, conclude from that what you will. When it comes to RandomX, RandomX is like basically the only protocol for proof of work that's completely distributed. RandomX is beaten off any ASICs. It's basically gotten rid of all GPUs. And the one common thing that anyone who's involved with computers, by definition, must have is a CPU, and those all run RandomX. So you can't get more distributed than that. Everybody's walking around with the potential, Monero miner walking with their pockets. They're all available. They don't necessarily go very fast, but yeah, this is something you cannot get rid of. You cannot get rid of anybody's average CPU, desktop, any old small device you might have hanging around your house. So there's just simply no way. Any threats about reducing the usage of it are pointless. And RandomX is like the perfect mining algorithm for that, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, why Elon Musk isn't talking about that, I do not know. Like, why isn't he talking about RandomX? And I find it unbelievable. All these, all the Bitcoin maxis that I bring on the show, and then I bring up RandomX. Nobody, we just had Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie Lee.
I think he heard of it, but he didn't really know.
No,
He didn't know if it's working. He didn't It's just
unbelievable.
It seems like such an important kind of breakthrough in crypto. And it's just not
the ignorance. Yes, the ignorance of RandomX is surprisingly strategic. Anybody who should know better suddenly doesn't know anything about it. What an interesting coincidence. It's almost as if they just don't. It's not in their interest to let anybody else know. Hey, my coin doesn't support that, and I can't change it now. And let's just ignore that.
Yeah. Exactly. What do you guys think about the or let me ask, what's happening with Monero volume right now? Are we at all-time highs right now in terms of volume?
The charts that were out today not only show massive all-time highs.
In the Monero network itself, transaction volume.
Oh yes, the transaction volume. Not only did they have just recently, for the very first time, I believe it was last week, that the dynamic block size was first tested. There was never been any tests in production.
That's what I wanted to ask. So
Yes.
it's been used.
It was first tested.
Mentioning it today, and I was like, oh no, I didn't think dynamic block size hasn't even kicked in yet. So, oh wow, so that was the first, right?
Well, it wasn't. Unless I'm mistaken, this wasn't the very first time. It occurred maybe about a week ago under some other circumstances. But the transaction volume has been extremely high, and obviously over the last, not even 24 hours now, it's been when everything started decreasing. We got a number of blocks in a row that were past the dynamic size, and they functioned without incident. The mempool itself had an enormous amount of transactions coming through, and the dynamic size worked perfectly on those. Everything went okay. Now there's some limitations that the miners who were working on that were getting less total amount of Coinbase amount because the fees add up while the Coinbase transactions go down. So I'm not sure if people were very happy with that in the mining because it doesn't automatically scale up like any other ones. But it's perfect as far as the transaction volume is concerned. Everything has gone through. So the big backlog of the mempool to simply put it right down real quick, exactly as theory predicted.
That's exciting to see. I'm sure Arctic Mine was celebrating that. Arctic Mine, if you're listening, jump on, send us a message.
Yeah, I've just checked
He's not on.
have just checked the trading volume of Monero in the past few days, and we've seen a huge uptick in those. But one of the things Binance kept telling their retail customers is that they halted XMR withdrawals because of the network congestion. But at the same time, people were able to trade Monero on Kraken and on Polonius just fine. So that's just something to think about.
Very true. Very true.
Yep. And by the way, I think I am going to go to bed. As
of course,
thank
you so much for joining us.
Rest up. Thanks for doing this short notice too. I know we just hit you today.
We hit you up this morning. Thank you so much.
Greatly
no worries,
appreciate it.
No worries. I am super excited to be here, and I will also be on the Monero Weekly Clubhouse call.
Okay, yes, Sunday, right? Yeah.
If you have any other questions or feedback or anything like that, I will be on. So come say hi. I am always super excited talking to Monero community because you guys have been absolutely amazing in these past few days, and I'm just huge shout out to every single one of you. We just really, really love you all.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on, and rest well. Enjoy your sleep.
I think this was one of our best Monerotopias.
Yeah.
Just because of you guys coming on and
you guys made the
talking
show.
about it. It felt like a very newsworthy event, very timely as well. So
we
appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. And so
thank
rest,
you so
have
much.
a good night over there.
Have
Take
a good
care.
evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, Sean. And thank you, obviously.
Oh, hello.
Pauline, I actually called her Pauline. I apologize, Pauline. Sean, anything else you want to bring up? Because we're actually probably going to wrap up over here. We'll keep this video. I think we could go on forever, but this is good. We'll keep it dense and quality. Anything else you want to bring up before we close it out?
Well, there's just maybe two small things that just came out just recently. Well, first off, just the fact that everybody actually survived, the communities here, and even though probably one of the greatest crises, if you look at it on paper, that Monero community has faced, everything's fine. One of the major centralized systems actually did finally get through to have everything function correctly. So we never had this happen. We've never had this level of traffic occurring, and everything actually worked exactly the right way. So from the Monero side, everything was fine. Now, some of the exchanges they may have had trouble, but honestly, I think they're going to learn from this. So at the end of the day, everybody's stronger for everything that went through. We got a slight panic, but I think we're here. We learned.
It's exciting to see, and it seems like it's a symptom of our growth. So it seems like it's a good problem to have.
And I'd like to point out there's an item published today by RV Runner, an article called Fear. If you're interested in certain things that are going on behind the scenes at certain points, you might want to take a look at that story. It's available on some of the blogs and say Reddit. It's interesting.
If you could send that,
me the
maybe
links
even
and
put
I'll
that in the
it
Sure.
chat.
Or you can say, and
I'm sure
also
people
send
like
it to
that.
me.
Yeah,
I'll put it in the description.
Very cool.
Right. Like I could say the exact information available there is not something that did actually occur. It's just very similar to things that did happen. So you might learn a thing or two from that. But it also kind of explains some of the things that have happened over the last 48 hours. And you might learn a thing or two about some of the things that have been going on as well.
We'll definitely check
Awesome.
that out.
Yeah, send it to me and I'll put it in the description.
All right.
I do think it'd be a good time to have Arctic. We could try to get him on Monerotopia soon. I told him, I think the last time we did an interview, like once dynamic block size kicks in, we have to have him do another show. So I didn't know that. That's very exciting to see that it actually happened, kicked in, it worked. How was price affected during that time? Transaction fees affected during that time?
Oh, the transaction fees are fixed, and so they're not going to change at all. It's always based on the amount of size of the transactions, which will remain fixed. So, but at the time, as price has been going down, the total aggregate you get is always an XMR. Some people we might have surpassed some numbers to have less miners being involved because I guess in theory, my always concern was on the dynamic block sizes, if that would interfere with any mining networks, if they might see that the total amount of transaction they get is reduced, because it is. I'm fairly certain we could say the actual amount that the miner got on those dynamic block sizes went down because the fees are so small and the amount of XMR Coinbase that goes down a significant amount the far larger those are. But they might not be happy with that, but I think everything's still stable with that. So the mining probably wasn't affected.
It temporarily goes down?
Yes. Well, the theory is that the biggest cost is not actually mining the transactions, but storing the blockchain, because Monero is a very large blockchain. So what we'd like to do is disincentivize, extra, transactions that are not really useful. So we're going to punish the fees are there specifically to punish extra transactions that aren't necessary. And so anytime we have more and more transactions being added, it makes sense to disincentivize the process by having smaller amount of fees and Coinbase that's rewarded to the miners to do that. So they always want to get right up to the maximum dynamic blockchain size, but not do any more. And so the systems are in there so that maybe it's from a selfish mining perspective, they don't want to go and make the dynamic block size occur. But at a certain point, most people are not doing this type of selfish mining, but instead are adding more and more transactions because it just helps out with everything. So that was, I think, the only fear that we had with the dynamic block size. Some people larger pools might intentionally prevent that from occurring. But that doesn't look like it occurred. It looks like everybody went through, even not getting the maximum amount of XMR they could from the mining, they still went through and processed everything. So that's, it's pretty good.
All right. Arctic Mind's probably happy. I see somebody saying, I noticed low rewards a couple of weeks ago. Was that what caused it?
Well, the low rewards would be associated with dynamic block size. Those go down. We know that. It has to. But if that was the very first dynamic block size that occurred, and I think this is just, it wasn't right now, it was some time ago, that would have been that. You would notice that the Coinbase fees, the total amount that was paid out to the miner, was less than other ones beforehand, even for the same amount of size, same amount of transactions in total.
Right.
So
exciting to see. Exciting to see. History was made. Nobody even knew. No,
we survived.
I didn't even know.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay.
All right, man. Yeah, we're gonna close it out. This is exciting, though. I mean, it's funny, right? Like, so prices crashing. Monero community just doesn't care. I mean, I can't speak for everybody.
They're survivors.
But, a lot of the Monero community, I think, they're not in it for the day-to-day price action. They're here for the technology, and it's working. It's working just as well today, or even better than it was yesterday. So to see that trend just continue to go, and to see the Monero community just always be excited about that and never hung up with price is just more and more, it's just very encouraging.
Yeah, I think the best indicator that we have of success in Monero is not the amount of value that's associated with the chain or the price of anything, but it's the total amount of transactions that are occurring. We know that we're actually getting really high compared to Bitcoin. I think the numbers are almost like 15% now. So even though the very first coin that everyone talks about and nobody even mentions, like the other ones, the one coin that was the first one, we actually have the same amount of transactions that were occurring about a year ago, or maybe it's 18 months ago now. So we're about Bitcoin minus 18 months. I think that's correct. So yeah, wow. If you think Bitcoin was big a year and a half ago, there we are.
Right.
So, yeah.
Oh boy, here we come. About to leapfrog. All right, Sean.
All
All right.
Sean. Thanks so much for jumping on.
Have a good weekend. Have a
Nice
good
talking to
weekend,
you.
everybody. This was an
See you
amazing
guys.
show.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yeah.
Don't forget to, we never say, like,
I know.
subscribe.
Subscribe. And I was just saying, I was like, please like.
I don't think we've ever said that in any of our.
Please subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, guys, try to
Like
make
the
it more
episode.
popular.
Yeah.
So,
we want to
you know,
spread the word about this.
yeah, we get non-Monero people.
This is a more
hopefully follow us.
casual way of marketing. Come on, guys, help us out. And yeah, and also please help spread gratuitous. And buy our coffee. It's delicious. Just, you know, reminding everyone. And also the Atomic Swap sneakers.
Oh, yeah.
We
yeah.
got ourselves a pair. We're going to be wearing them for the Bitcoin conference.
Yes.
We're very excited about that.
And then we're also adding hats to
hats
gratuitous as well.
eventually, yeah.
Same concept. We're adding a barcode where you can send a tip
To the general fund.
to the devs, and it will match the sneakers.
So yeah,
Check it out.
gratuitous.org.
And it
Please
says-
check it out.
It says Monero, Mo Liberty. So
Yeah.
we're excited about those.
Yeah, we are. We actually are. We're going to be rocking them in Miami. Although it's a Bitcoin conference, but we're going to do it.
And I think we actually have access into the conference now, right? You think?
We
Potentially?
think
Okay.
potentially. We'll see. But we're definitely
Alright.
going to be in Miami.
Otherwise, we were just going to literally be hanging out in front of it, selling our coffee, talking to everybody.
Yeah. With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Sean, thanks so much,
I
man.
know,
You're a
thank you.
wealth of information.
Always.
Always welcome
We
to
just
join
love
us on
having
stage.
you on. It's like our little Monero meetup, but digitally. Right?
So glad to join you. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
All right,
Have a
take
great
care.
weekend.
Oh yeah, you could do. Are you? I don't want to give anything away, but if you ever think you're geographically next to us, maybe you could come join us in person.
Yeah.
Yes, I might take advantage of that over the summer as things are opening up now. It'll be much easier to get myself down there.
Come hang out on the couch.
I know, seriously. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'll be sure. That's true. Yeah. I'll see you this
All
summer
right.
no matter what.
All right, we'll be in touch.
All right,
So long, everybody.
bye.
Take
Take
care.
care, guys. Take care, everyone. Adios.